Hi friends, I hope you're well. I am very excited to film this video because we're going to talk about one of my favorite things, art supplies. I've been wanting to make a video like this since I started my YouTube channel, but I kind of just forgot about it, and then today while scrolling through my YouTube homepage I saw an favorite art supplies video. I was like, oh yeah, I should do that. We're gonna start with sketchbooks. I have three favorites I can speak to currently. The common theme among all three of these and why I like them is because the pages are friendly to multimedia uses. I really like being able to just grab my sketchbook and then from there just grab whatever art supply is speaking to me. I feel like if I have to go seek out specific paper, that will be like a block that gets in my way of just riding the inspiration wave when it comes. So I like when my sketchbook paper can handle both like a little bit of water and looks good with just sketching colored pencil. So the first is the Moleskine art sketchbook. I like the size of this one and that it has a little elastic that you can hold it closed because then you can throw it in your bag and not worry about it popping open and the pages getting bent and stuff. I find this one does a pretty good job of holding water if you're gonna paint on it at all. The pages buckle a little bit, but not enough that it really interferes with you at all. And I like that you can just get a solid black cover because sketchbooks are my favorite place to put all my vinyl stickers. I feel like I have so many of them at all times and just constantly need places to put them, so I like getting sketchbooks that I can put stickers on, so that is a plus. My go-to sketchbook if I want a little bit smaller of a size. Favorite though are these Crescent Render sketchbooks. I like that it's a full, like, I think this is 8.5 by 11 on a page, and again the paper can hold water really well. Like I can use my acrylic gouache, which I'll talk about later, no problem. You can use watercolors. Sometimes it gets a little bit buckly with watercolors if you use too much water, but it also looks great if you're just using sketching pencil or colored pencils on it as well. So again, I can just put this in front of me and use whatever medium I'm in the mood for. The other thing I want to mention that I don't actually use it for art very often, but I do on occasion, and I love that I can, is it's an Archer and Olive dot journal. And the paper in here is amazing as well. I have used it for all kinds of things. It will hold marker decently well. It does bleed through. I didn't mention that the pages of the other two are really good for not letting marker bleed through, which is part of why I love them. But these pages are nice and thick. I've lately been just using it for like regular journaling, which kind of feels like a waste. But I started it as a journal, and then lately all I've been wanting to do for journaling is just like regular black pen on paper, so that's just what I've been using it for. But this is a really nice journal if you like art journaling. Like it's really nice material for just writing on, but you can use a variety of mixed medias on it, and the paper can hold it pretty decently well. So next I want to talk about my favorite pens, and these are technically not like a fine art supply, but I use them for drawing sometimes and they're just too good not to mention. I've been obsessed with the Pilot G2 pen, I think since high school. Like I've gone through so many of these pens. They're incredible. I can't even, like, I love so many things about them, it's hard to even like know where to start with it. They dry really fast. If you accidentally swipe your hand over you've just written, as long as it's not right after you've just written, it won't streak. I love that they are really good for not soaking through pages. Like you have to have a pretty thin page for it to soak through. They just have the perfect flow for me and my writing style. They are refillable. I've been using the same like pen canisters for forever. I just buy the refills, and that's another thing I love about them. They're a little more eco-friendly than the average pen. Yeah, Pilot, if you're watching this, sponsor me. I will talk about how great your pens are forever. And they have a few different sizes, by the way. I think you can get Pilot 2.0 size. I've tried those. I don't like them as much as my baby is the 0.38. It's just like the perfect, like I've tried 0.25 thickness pens and they're a little too thin for me. 0.38 is where it's at. Okay, next we're gonna talk about colored pencils, which has been one of my favorite mediums lately. I use them not only just like on their own I've really enjoyed lately doing like sketching, but rather than using a plain pencil, using a colored pencil, like doing like your outline in one color and shading in other colors, and kind of, I'm just gonna show you an example of what I'm talking about. Like kind of on this page here, how like instead of doing these sketches with a pencil, I do colored pencil, and then like in this one, for example, like pulling out different colors to do shading. I think it looks really cool. I find when I look at a page that is just like all pencil sketches, it doesn't inspire me the way that like this does, with a little bit more color in it, and it's a really fun way to add some some flair to your sketches. That's kind of how I've been using them lately. Also, I will often like do a piece with acrylic gouache or watercolor and then do the final details on top with colored pencil. So my favorite colored pencils, although I don't even know if I really have a right to say this, is Prismacolor Premier. I say I don't have a right to say that they're my favorite because I bought some because a bunch of the YouTubers I follow use them. I love them, and I have not compared them to any other colored pencil that's at their like quality caliber. I cannot tell you if they're better than others like it. I can just tell you that I really like them, and that's good enough for me. I'm also the kind of person that when I find something I really like, I like to have all of the same thing. I would not want to have a mix of types of colored pencils. I feel like if I went to try a different brand of colored pencils, I could maybe have them if I kept them stored separately. There's no way I would ever mix a different brand of colored pencils with my Prismacolor pencils. That would just upset me too much. Also, I want to show you, I bought this at HomeSense the other day to put on my desk because there's a theme in this video, and it's making art as convenient and easy as possible because you'll do more of it. That's like been the lesson I've learned lately, and it's working for me really well. I have all my colored pencils sitting on my desk right in front of me, and it's so easy to just be like, oh, my sketchbook's right here, my pencil's right here. Might as well make something. I've got the Prismacolor Premier colored pencils. I'm slowly trying to collect all of them so I have the full range of colors. I have quite a bit now, like these ones here. These are all my Prismacolor Premiers. I love that I can go to the art store and be like, I'm just gonna grab a couple more Prismacolors, and I'm like so happy that I go home with a few new art supplies, and they're only like, they're less than, depending on what store you buy them from, they're between $2 and $3. Sometimes they're on sale, and I'm like, I only spent $8. That's so great. And then I come back and I look at this and I'm like, this is a lot of money when you put it all together. But as far as art supplies go, colored pencils are pretty inexpensive, so that's nice too. And then I also bought the Prismacolor Colorase pencils. So they're Prismacolor colored pencils and they have erasers on them. I don't use them as much as I thought. I thought I would really like them for doing sketches that I'm then gonna paint. I haven't been doing as much of that lately. I think is maybe why I'm not using them. Or often I feel like what happens is I don't know I'm gonna paint it, so I don't start with these because I don't know that I'm gonna wanna paint what I'm sketching, but I do like them. They're quite nice. Okay, now for my favorite paint. Are you ready? It's very popular. You've definitely seen it before. Acrylic gouache from Holbein. It's so good. I got, last Christmas I asked for the Rebecca Green set. This set that came with 12 different colors. And then I bought black and white and just kind of experimented with them and just fell in love instantly. What I love about it is it's the perfect medium if you like watercolor and you like acrylic and you kind of want to work with both at the same time. Like it's just so good. It dries really fast, but you can mix it with water and get some beautiful gradient effects with it. I find it's not my favorite for blending, and it's not nearly as blendy as something like watercolor, but it will do the trick if you want a nice like blendy, watery looking effect. I love the color range. The pigments are amazing. It is kind of expensive, like it's about 10 Canadian for one of these bottles. Like each of these is about 10 unless you get it in a set and it's a little bit cheaper. But again, every time I go to the art store, I just buy one or two, and I'm so excited to add a few more to my collection, and it just slowly builds up over time. I also do need to give a shout out to, I have this really lovely set of 48 acrylic paints from Liquitex. These are my go-tos when I'm working on canvas or anything bigger because it's a little bit more inexpensive of a paint, and I love this set because there's so many colors that it pretty much has everything I need, and if I don't quite have what I need, I'm usually only 1 or 2 shades off of what I want, and it's pretty easy to mix and get what I want out of this set. So these are fabulous. Holy cow, I'm just realizing like I have a lot of art supplies that I'm pretty proud that I use all of it on a regular basis. I used to just have so many art supplies that I just hardly ever touched, but now I use them a lot, so that makes me happy. Okay, actually speaking of art supplies that I have but I don't use enough of, I do have these. So I have a butt ton of Copic markers, which again, they're quite expensive, and I feel kind of spoiled that I have all of these. The bulk of my Copic collection came from my mom, who had acquired them years ago for scrapbooking purposes and then wasn't really using them, so she gave them to me. And I went through a really hardcore Copic phase about like a year ago, and it's been a little while since I've used them, but I'm confident I'll come back to them again. I haven't been using watercolor a ton these days because I got really into the acrylic gouache, but watercolor was like the first paint I started with. It was the only paint I used for years. And then when I was on vacation in Europe last year, I was in like a really cute art supply store in Amsterdam, and I bought myself this little Winsor & Newton watercolor set that was perfect for just carrying around with me and doing out on my adventures. And I use it on occasion now, even just at home, even though it's kind of like meant for travel, because it just brings me so much joy to use it, because it brings back the memories of using it on my trip. Okay, now let's talk about paint brushes. I am not a paintbrush snob at all. I kind of just use whatever. Like, I'll go to the store and pick one completely based on shape. I'm not partial to any particular brand. Maybe I would be if I had been doing this for longer, but at this point I kind of just, I have a jar filled with just like all kinds of different shapes. I just really like having a selection of every possible size or shape I could need, so that I can look at what I'm working on and think like, okay, what will I need to make this thing that I want to do look the best, and just be able to grab that. But I will show you some of the ones I've been using the most lately. So I got these ones from Michaels that they're kind of like either flat or tapered. These are really, really nice for trying to fill in a shape, because it's very easy to kind of like work this around and get your edges really clean. And then I was really enjoying these, so I got a mini version of it for when I'm doing smaller shapes. I have a few brushes that are kind of around like teeny tiny size for just doing little details on stuff, so those I use a lot as well, because I do mostly paint in my sketchbooks rather than on big surfaces, so I like having little brushes. Okay, next up is palettes. I am partial to ceramic palettes. I've had a couple of plastic palettes. I don't like how they end up getting stained over time. I don't like how they're light, and so it's easy for them to move around your work surface while you're trying to mix up paints and stuff. So I've kind of gravitated towards ceramic. I've got a few that I really love. This one is made by a local artist called Oil and Birch. I really, really love her work. You can find her on Instagram. Definitely recommend checking her out. Her main thing is like mugs and cylindrical kind of shaped things. I don't even know how often she does paint palettes, but she released a batch of these and I had to get my hands on one. I have a Sugar House Ceramic Co palette, which I absolutely love. I'm obsessed with all their stuff. This palette is wonderful. I love the size of it. I love the look of it, except for I meant to order the speckled pattern palette when I ordered for them. I was so excited because I'd been wanting one of these forever, because a ton of artists I follow have their palettes, and I love speckled stuff. Always gravitate towards speckly ceramics. And I think I just got so excited making my order that I didn't even know they made plain white ones. So I accidentally ordered the plain white, so I was pretty sad to open it. I thought I just got like a faulty one that like just somehow didn't get any speckles, but then I looked back at my order and I had ordered the white. So I think next time I have some spending money, I might make another order, and maybe I'll get like, they have a few different kinds of palettes, so maybe I'll get one that has like a spot to mix up your colors in it as well, in the speckle or something. But I still love it even though I didn't get the style that I wanted. And then I also have this ceramic palette. I do not know where it came from. This was a gift. It has two sides. This side is just a nice, I really like the big spots for, I'll like put colors in and then I have room to kind of mix them. It works really nice. And then on the back side it has, this one is really good for if you're going to be doing a lot of, you want to start with like your basic colors here and do a lot of mixing of stuff in the middle. The only downside of this one is, I can't remember, I think it's when I put it this way that it gets kind of wobbly when you're working with it. So I think I usually end up working with it on this side so that doesn't happen. And I thought, since I am pretty much just as much, if not more, a digital illustrator versus traditional media illustrator, that I talk about my favorite Procreate brushes. Procreate is the program that I use to make my digital art. As far as I know, is only available on iPad, and so you need to have an Apple iPad. Sucks because they're super expensive, but Procreate is incredible. It is so user-friendly. I feel like I learned how to use it so quickly. I'm sorry to report, but I have to be honest that most of the brushes that I use in Procreate are not Procreate default brushes. The only Procreate brush that is a default Procreate brush that I use all the time, is the 6B pencil. It's very popular. I hear people talk about using it all the time, which is probably how I started using it. So I keep a folder of my general favorites in Procreate. 6B pencil has been mainly what I've been using lately, but I do also really love some of the other ones in here. Derwent is another pencil from Procreate that is really good as well. The Plimsoll and gouache are also Procreate defaults. Most of my go-to brushes are from the Kyle Webster gouache pack. If you have an Adobe subscription, you can access these brushes for free, and they are amazing. I am in love with the gouache pack because I love my acrylic gouache. I love the look gouache painting, and even when I'm working digitally, I'm trying to emulate the way that realistic gouache looks. So I really, really love these brushes. They're incredible. I am not the only one who loves them. I see them raved about all over the place. Kyle Webster makes great brushes. I actually have all of his packs that you can get for free on Adobe. My favorite brushes from this set are all the ones at the top of the folder. I've like clicked and moved them up to the top so I don't have to scroll through and find them, and I just know that all of my favorite ones are up there. I think the ones that I rely on the most are the Gouache G Edge Soft and the Gouache G Beauty. The two above here, the Gouache Detail Round and Gouache Thick, are ones that I use a lot as well. And then I have a few dry brush styles that I like for adding texture on top when I haven't quite gotten the textury look that I want. We're pretty much at the end, but I want to make an honorable mention to a completely different medium. I think it's an art supply. I think some people would contest that. I've been really into crocheting recently. I started crocheting in November and I've just been falling more and more in love with it. I don't know what it is, but just something about creating stitches with your own hands, having this piece of like fabric that you made that used to just be a bunch of string, just is so fulfilling to me. I'm a pretty big crochet newbie, so these are probably really lame favorites to people who are crochet pros, but I recently got a couple of ergonomic crochet hooks and they have really upped my game. I did not think it would really matter. Before this I had, my mom taught me how to crochet and she gave me these, this set of hooks that are all like the inline style. These are the tapered style, and I wasn't sure if it was gonna really impact me whether it was tapered or inline. It didn't really matter. I found that the process felt pretty much the same, but maybe it's because I'm still new at it. I don't really notice the difference. The comfort grip really did make a difference though. And another thing I'm really glad I invested in are some locking stitch markers. My biggest obstacle in crochet has been that I really struggle to tell where my rows start and end because I hate counting the stitches as I go. So I just kind of like start my new row and hope for the best. But these are amazing because you can mark where your first and last stitch of each row is, so you can just mindlessly do your stitching and then you get to the end and you know exactly where you started that row, so you know where you have to stop and turn around and make sure all your rows are even. So if you're a new crocheter and you're struggling with that, these are the bomb. That is it. That is all my favorite art supplies at the moment. Thanks for watching. You are the best. I'll see you in the next one.